It's a make or break year for Mike Locksley.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you guys for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Mike Locksley is in a make or break year for the Terps. I think that there's a lot of mixed feelings about Mike Locksley. I think a lot of people feel really differently through the Maryland fan base about Mike Locksley. Some people are really high on what he's done and said Maryland's program was in the trash before this. Nobody cared at all about Maryland football. There's a lot of bad things going on before the year with Maryland football. It just wasn't in a good spot overall, and it just wasn't where we wanted Maryland football to go. And Mike Locksley has transformed Maryland football and has brought us to 3 straight bowl games before last year. He's got us to get some decent recruits. We've had some pretty good recruiting classes. We've been able to recruit the DMV better. We've been able to have guys going to the NFL and guys that are making an impact, whether it's Deontay Banks or Jacorian Bennett, or this year getting Dante Trader drafted, or getting Ty Felton drafted in the 3rd round, or getting Tommy King-Basote drafted late, or Caden Prather drafted late. And some people might feel really good about Mike Locksley and say, hey, this Maryland team has a lot of other troubles, but Mike Locksley isn't one of those troubles. Mike Locksley isn't one of the reasons why this program isn't great right now. And I think that's a fair point of view. I think that there's another point of view where a lot of people are like, Mike Locksley has started to become underwhelming. We're never going to be more than average. We're never going to be better than an 8-win team. He's kind of hit his peak as a coach, getting to a couple straight bowl games, having an 8-win season in the Big Ten. He can't maintain any of the top players, whether it's Jason Barham or Chop Robinson or some of these top guys that come through that he's able to recruit. They don't stay. So what's the point of getting top guys if they don't stay? And then also a lot of people will criticize him from last year and be like, we had a decent team. We had most guys drafted that we've had, but Mike Locksley couldn't figure it out, has been able to figure out a lot of different things if you're talking about the offensive line, the defensive line, some of those things. He's been good in terms of the skill positions. He's been good in some of the secondary spots, but there's still a lot of holes that Mike Locksley hasn't figured out, and a lot of people probably don't think Mike Locksley will figure it out. And then there's people like me who sit kind of in the middle of it all and say, yeah, he's done a really good job of pulling us through a hard time for Maryland football, but I'm also concerned, how far can we go? How good can we get? And I think I sit somewhere in the middle, but I think what I kind of want to tell you guys is my findings about this is you can feel a lot of different ways about Mike Locksley, but I think when you have a coach where a lot of people are tugging back and forth and a lot of people feel a lot of different ways about him, there's usually somebody that is going to maybe be, in terms of the next year or two, probably is going to be a make or break. If a lot of people are pulling back for it, when you have a coach that a lot of people have different opinions on and a lot of people aren't high on, and some people are kind of high on and think that he can do well, this probably has a couple more years to prove himself. It's not like he's dead yet. It's not like he's been bad. It's not like it's all been bad, but it definitely isn't all great either. And I think that's where I'm at with Mike Locksley. And I think it's a make or break year. I do. And that means a couple different things for Maryland football. I think number one, the most important thing is, if this year goes bad, I do think there is a chance Mike Locksley gets fired. I think there's a chance Mike Locksley gets fired if this year goes bad. Some of you guys might ask, what is bad then? Bad to me is if Maryland only wins 4 games, 5 games with this schedule, with avoiding Ohio State, with avoiding Penn State, with avoiding Oregon, with avoiding USC and some of those powerhouses. If Maryland only gets 4 or 5 wins, I think you're looking at Mike Locksley and you're like, I don't know if we can keep him. I don't know if he's done a good enough job because that'd be 2 years in a row with just low, really, real, honestly, just bad seasons, just really bad seasons. And when you look at Mike Locksley and what he's done, I don't think the good would outweigh that. And that goes back to the first point where a guy that has done good and bad, and I think that 2 bad years in a row, I just think people will start to question it. And I do think if Maryland has a guy in mind, if there's a guy out there that Maryland really wants, if there's a guy out there that Maryland thinks they can get, they might decide to move off of Mike Locksley. And I think that if they only finish with 5 wins or 4 wins, I think there's a really high end opportunity that Mike Locksley's gone next year. If they get to 6 wins, I think they're in a good spot. Anything more than 6, I think Mike Locksley stays. And when you look at the schedule, 6 should be a reasonable expectation. I don't know what Maryland's win total is this year. I'd be interested to see. I'm pretty sure it's pretty low, and we'll talk about some of the expectations that other people have about this program. But if he only gets 4 or 5 wins, I just can't see how we bring him back, because right now I think what's kind of holding him together is the recruiting. I think we've had some really high-end recruits. I think we've had some really good players, and whether it's our 2023 class or 24 class or 2025 class, there's been some really good players that Mike Locksley has brought in. And that's what the other Big Ten coaches said in that anonymous poll, is that Mike Locksley does a good job recruiting. He does a solid job recruiting for what Maryland is, for the amount of money we have in terms of we're just not throwing around NIL money. Maryland has done a pretty good job with recruiting, but there's just more to the story than just recruiting. And if you can't ever materialize it, then there's no point in having this high-end recruiting. There's no point of bringing some of these people in. There's no point of doing some of this really good recruit. Like, there's no point in doing all that if you can't make it work in the season, if you can't make it come together. And we've seen it. And Maryland's 2025 class is going to hopefully not be an example of that being a top 25 class. You hope that class can figure it out. You hope that class can put it together. You hope that class can do some big things in terms of having a winning record in their time at Maryland and being able to do some good things in the Big Ten and be able to maybe upset somebody. But as of right now, it just feels like Mike Locksley's in a little bit of a stuck position. And you don't want to be stuck as a program. You don't want to be stuck at all as a college football program, because teams will leave you in the dust. And there's other teams that are mediocre teams that weren't that good before, never known as football schools, that have started to figure it out, that are starting to reach a new high. Like, I take Syracuse, for example. I never thought of Syracuse as a football program. I never thought as Syracuse as a great football school or anything like that. I feel like Syracuse football, a lot of people think more about as a basketball school, but Fran Brown has really done a good job with that program. And now Syracuse feels like, with last year with Kyle McCord and some of the recruiting they've been doing, that they might be the next new thing in the ACC, and they're going to be an exciting team. And I think that you just don't want to get stale, because then at that point it's like, what are we doing here? Like, let's try to find a better candidate. Let's try and fix this thing. Let's try and get to a better spot. So I just think that when we talk about the record for Maryland football last year and some of the things, I just think it's going to come down to a make or break season. And then I wonder, I'm really not sure about this, but I do wonder if the new AD has anything to do with it, in terms of if next year it's bad again. I wonder how the new AD looks at it and says, I didn't hire you. You weren't my choice of a football coach. That's not what I wanted to do, or whatever the case is. And so the new AD might be like, you're part of the last regime. You're part of the last people that hired you. I'm going in a different direction. I want to do something that I think is best for the program. I want to do something that I think is good. I want to put my stamp on Maryland athletics and Maryland football. I think it's reasonable to think the new AD does that, especially if Mike Locksley ain't killing it. And so I think his job's safe with 6 wins. I just think that it's so tough when you look at Maryland's schedule to just give him an excuse for this year, because it's like, if not now, then when? And I understand there's a lot of young players, and you think about guys like Malik Washington and Jalen Gilchrist and Braden Lee. Like, there's a lot of young talent that I really like. but you just can't give Mike Locksley the keys forever. He's done a pretty good job. I just think that you got to be able to switch some things up. I think there is a concern whenever you switch a coach up because a lot of recruits end up leaving. There's a lot of transfers coming in and out. There's a lot of different things going on, but you just wonder what Maryland can do with it. And Maryland can flip the switch, if Maryland can take the team to the next level, and if Mike Locksley can do it, I just think it's a make or break year. I think this year, if he does well and gets to 6 wins, I think there's no reason we're not going to be really good for the next couple of years, and that could give Mike Locksley another 3-4 years as a Maryland coach. But if he doesn't if we don't make a bowl game, we don't win very many games in this poor schedule, people might be looking at Maryland and Mike Locksley as on the hot seat or fired. I think it's one of the two. If he has a poor season, I think there's no way that if he doesn't get fired after next year, there's no way his butt isn't burning at the end of the year, and they're going to be looking for any reason to fire Locksley. So we'll see what happens, but to me, it's a make or break season. I am on the middle of Mike Locksley. I think he's done a good job, but I think, in my opinion, to make or break, for my opinion on Mike Locksley, I'm having trouble formulating an opinion because I think last year some of the struggles weren't all on him, but I think some of them were. And so I'm waiting for this year to really formulate, do I think he's the coach that can bring us somewhere, or is he not? And we'll see what happens. We'll see how he handles the situation with the freshman quarterback, younger players, a lot of the guys we don't know how they're going to be. We'll see how he handles that. But I do think it's a make or break year for Mike Locksley. But we'll see what ends up happening. We know he'll end up figuring it out, hopefully. There's a lot of criticism about Maryland football and what they can be and what they are next year. I want to talk about that next and my overall thoughts. Do I agree with it? Is it warranted? I'll talk about that next. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been better time to get in on the action. The MLB season is heating up, and every game brings clutch hits, standout pitching, and unforgettable moments. From walk-off homers to no-hitters in the making, there's no shortage of drama on the diamond, and no better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game for tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. You can bet on so many different things right now. We got a 7-game series in the NBA Finals. I think that's exactly what most people wanted versus OKC and Pacers. You can bet on that. If you want to take OKC to win and the Pacers to win, you can do that on FanDuel. There's so many different things you can do on FanDuel right now. It's the MLB season if you want to do that. Of course, football season is going to be back. If you want to bet a team to win the Super Bowl, you can do that on FanDuel. If you're new to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. So I've come to realize a lot of people are really low on Maryland football this year. Like very low, like bottom of the conference, like they're going to be the worst team. A lot of people are really low on Maryland football. And I'm kind of thinking about my take on it, and I'm not surprised. I'll go ahead and say that. I'm not surprised. When you look at the roster, when you just look at it, if you don't really dig into it, I don't think that it is really crazy to be low on Maryland football this year. There's not a whole lot that, excuse me, that I think a lot of people are excited about with the Terps. I think some of the criticism is fair. It's like, where do you look at this roster and you're like, yeah, that guy's going to be good. And we're playing in the Big Ten, arguably the best conference. I'm curious what you guys think. You guys think Big Ten or SEC is the best conference right now? Like, I mean, last year the Big Ten was. This year, I don't know. I think somebody makes a really good point that at the top, the Big Ten and SEC are similar, but the middle ground teams, the SEC is better. And I agree with that because when you look at the middle ground teams in the SEC, like there are some really good middle of the pack teams in the SEC, where the Big Ten, it feels like a bit of a fall off and there's less middle type of teams. Like when we look at it, But when you look at the SEC, there's just more middle of the pack teams that are really solid football teams. Whereas for football, it kind of just drops off. Like when you think of the middle pack of the SEC right now, you think Florida, you think Auburn. You could argue a lot of different teams. You think Missouri's been pretty good. Arkansas, like Oklahoma's probably middle of the pack team, South Carolina, and then you think the top LSU, Georgia, Tennessee, Bama, like Georgia, like that's pretty big time. And I don't think Texas, I don't think the Big Ten has quite the teams at the top, or in the middle, they have the teams at the top. But that's besides the point. I just think my point is I think it's fair when we look at this roster. I can't point to really anybody on the team. Can't point to one guy on the team and be like, he's going to be really good for us this year, or we can trust him. Like last year, I was like, we know Ty Felton's going to be really good. We know Caden Prather is going to be really good. We probably know Roman Hemby's experience. He's had a lot of good years. We know Dante Trader's going to be good in the back end. We know Jordan Phillips is going to be good. This year, it's like I don't know. I don't know. Like Nolan Ray, Octavian Smith. I don't know. I don't know who's going to be good. And I expect guys to step up because that's what happens when the new guys get opportunity. Guys are going to step up. But there's nobody on this roster that I can confidently say is great or is going to be a really good player next year. And that's concerning when you're talking about the Big Ten. You're talking about one of the best conferences in football, and you can't name one person on your team that you feel confident about. So I think the concern is warranted. I do think that people aren't thinking about underthinking our schedule. I was on 98.5 Boston Sports Hub last night talking about it, and that's Boston Sports Radio, where I'm doing some internship and some work, and I got to go on the broadcast, and they had me talk about Maryland football. And Joe, who's the host of that, talked about Maryland having a gauntlet still. And I never really thought about it. He was like, I don't see where a win comes. And I was like, he has a point, maybe. Maybe I'm overestimating the schedule, but I think people are underestimating it. The first 3 games are all wins. Most people agree with that. But people don't think we're going to beat Wisconsin at home or away. People don't think we're going to beat Washington at home. People think Nebraska is going to be much better with Dylan Royal. People don't think we're going to beat UCLA. People don't think we're going to beat Indiana. People think maybe you'll get Rutgers. Maybe you'll get – Illinois has one of the better quarterbacks coming back. Maybe we can get Michigan State. People don't really think. So maybe I'm even too over the top on it, but somebody said that they are predicting, I saw an article today, that they're predicting Maryland finish second to last in the Big Ten, just behind Purdue, or in front of Purdue, I should say. Like, to me, that seems a bit excessive. Like, second to last, but maybe it's true. Like, I'm looking at the teams, I'm like, who is Maryland truly better than? Are they better than Rutgers? Like, I'm probably not familiar enough with the Rutgers roster to say that. Are they better than UCLA? I don't know. With the Nico kid coming into UCLA might be pretty good. Illinois, people are high on Illinois. Michigan State, another year of Aiden Childs, another year with their new head coach coming from Oregon State. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the criticism is fair. I just hope with the schedule we can figure out how to win games, how to figure it out, how to come up big. I do think some of it is fair. I do. I'll tell you guys firsthand that I think some of it is not, we're not in the best spot to do a couple things. But I do think people are going a little bit extreme about it. Like, I don't think we're in the same category as Purdue. I don't know if we're in the middle ground of the Big Ten. I think there are teams that are in the middle ground that are really good, like Wisconsin, like Nebraska now with Briola, like Michigan State, probably like Illinois, like Indiana. So maybe I'm underestimating the schedule just because you don't see a big dog. So really solid. You're playing a lot of the good teams in the Big Ten. You're not playing a lot of the great teams, but you're playing a lot of the solid teams. So I don't know exactly how it's going to go down. I think it'll be interesting, but I do think some of the criticism is a lot. And people are saying a lot of similar things that I'm saying, but until Mike Locksley proves that that's not going to be true, until the coaches prove that that's not going to be true, until the team proves that that's not going to be true, then the criticism is fair. It's fair. I think that you have to think that Maryland has to figure that out. And so we'll see. I think it's a lot. I think a lot of it's going to be on the shoulders of Malik Washington, but we'll see exactly what ends up happening. We're going to do a little game to end Friday's show, a little fun to end Friday. We'll do that next. So we're going to do a little game. We're going to choose a category, and then I'm going to say leader, who's our leader in that category. So I want to start with quarterback passing touchdowns. You guys know how I feel about this. I think it's between, I mean, some people might, I saw a comment that said Christian Martin. I like Christian Martin, but I just don't see him being the starter right now. I think it's between Malik and Justin Martin. Touchdown passes. This could be sneaky close if Justin Martin starts the season and maybe the keys are handed to Malik Washington halfway through. I just don't see a world where Justin Martin starts the whole year. I just don't. With this roster, with how Terps are probably going to struggle, with how he looked in the spring game, and we'll see exactly what ends up happening, I really doubt that Maryland is going to be great for the rest of the year. So to me, I see it being Malik Washington leading our team in passing touchdowns. I just do. And people might have different opinions on it, and maybe he won't be ready to play, but in the spring game, looked pretty good to me. So I think passing touchdown is going to be Malik Washington. I just think the way he throws it, the way he's athletic, the way he can scramble outside the pocket, I think it's going to be too hard to keep off the field. I think he leads the team in touchdown passes. Let me know what you guys think, but that's who I see leading it in touchdown passes. Let's go to touchdowns overall. So not touchdown passes, just touchdowns. So receiver, tight end, running back. I think Nolan Ray should lead our team in touchdowns. I think he should. I think someone that underrated might. Dorian Fleming, the tight end. I think he could be a good red zone threat with his size and some of the things he could do. He potentially could lead our team in touchdowns. That could be a possibility. I could see that happening. I think that's definitely entirely possible for the Terps and something that definitely could happen. We'll see what happens with Dorian Fleming. I think he's a good player. I think he's going to be one of our better weapons. But I do think he could end up being our leader in touchdowns. And he could be one of our leadings in receptions as well. And we'll go to receptions next. I have trouble with the receptions because there's so many guys on this Maryland roster at receiver that are waiting to prove themselves, that are waiting to figure out what they're going to do and what their role is. I think in terms of receptions, to me, I instantly think Julio Farouk. I instantly think Octavian Smith. I'm going to stick with Octavian Smith because I know Julio Farouk's still coming back from that injury. But I do think, to me, Octavian Smith is the leader in receptions. I think he's our best receiving threat. We'll see how a lot of it's going to come down to Justin Martin, Malik Washington, who they just like throwing the ball to, because it's not like we have a Ty Felton this year where it's like obvious he's 6'2", he runs a 4.38. Like it's obvious he's going to lead our team in receptions. We don't have a guy like that. So we'll see. And so who's going to lead? The next thing I would say is who's going to lead our team in interceptions? So I think this is an interesting one. The interceptions are an interesting one. You could go with a corner. You could go with a safety. I'm going to go with a guy that Mike Locksley seems to be really high on this year, that last year played corner for some of the time, but now is at safety and looked really good at safety when we put him there last season, is Jalen Husky. I think Jalen Husky leads our team in interceptions. I think at the safety spot, I think his range and him playing corner is going to give him really good ball skills. I think he's going to lead our team in interceptions, but we'll see what ends up happening. There's other choices there as well. That's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps.